about all about how you are getting amazing results, especially as women leaders, because this is for you, and yet you're still not being seen as ready for that next level. Maybe you're even getting the feedback of, hey, you're just not ready yet. You may need to do more work, put in more time, whatever the reason might be. And you're like, but I'm delivering results, I'm delivering outcomes. I'm actually doing work that's above the role that I'm in. Or you might be just saying, hey, I'm ready to move on to a next role. Why aren't they seeing what I'm capable of? So this is where I want to talk to you today about the visibility gap, the invisible table, as one of my clients called it. So I'm going to coin that phrase now and keep it for myself. And also just what can you do about it? So welcome. If this is the first time you are hanging out with me here today, my name is Kim Rijmakers, and I am a leadership strategist and executive advisor for women in leadership, helping them to create high-performing teams that take ownership and act independently, while also getting the recognition and the salary. At the end of the day, let's talk about the money too, that they deserve. So they're moving into, all the women that I work with, they're moving into roles, into higher level roles. They are ensuring that they are getting paid and they are not working every single night and every single weekend because their teams are performing and taking the responsibility of what they need to be doing. All right, so let's dig into today's topic. And if you're watching this live, drop a wave, drop a comment below, and let me know if you've got any questions, and just let me know you're here and you're watching. All right, so the first part of this, when a lot of the frustration that I've had, and I've coached over 100 plus leaders over the last 5 years, and this conversation hasn't changed. And I remember doing this when I was in my corporate career. I was thinking like, okay, I've got the same experience. I've got just as much education or even more than a number of my colleagues, and often my male colleagues, and yet they are steps above me already. Or even worse, when I had the situations like, oh, they didn't even accomplish their result. They didn't even gain the results, and yet they're being promoted. What's happening here? It's not making any sense. So oftentimes, and I did this mistake as well. Oftentimes, the first thing that I would do, and a common mistake that I see so many women do, is like, okay, well, if I'm getting the advice is I'm not ready, or I'm being too ambitious and wanting to grow, then maybe I need to just work harder. Might need to have more experience. And one of the things I did personally is like, okay, well, I need to get more education. So off I went and got my executive MBA. None of that really led to the result of what I wanted, which was that next leadership role and the recognition of the capabilities and the value that I brought to the table. So what it came down to, and what I'm sharing with you, that it is most likely not a capability gap, experience gap that is leading to you being seen as not ready by your senior leaders, by your executives. It is very much a visibility gap and partially an access gap, and access is about networking. So I'm not going to cover that today. Big piece of this to start with this one. And if you were even just to implement a few of the things that I share with you today, this is going to make a big difference. So when it comes to the visibility gap, what often happens, and the mistakes that I see, is that you communicate in a way that is, hey, this is all the things I've done, and essentially like a task list. I had this conversation, we got that report out, we had that meeting, we agreed on this, and this is the project outcome. But you're going through almost like, here's my to-do list, and this is what I'm sharing with you. Problem with that is that positions you as a great executioner. So you are the like, hey, if we need to get things done, that's who we need to talk to. We need to get Kim on this because I know she gets things done. But the next level of the leadership isn't necessarily about getting more things done. Yes, you're still needing getting results, but people need to understand that you identified risks, that you mitigated some possible obstacles, that you had a strategy behind that. And when you're missing those things, what it leads to is that you get seen as not ready because you're not at that strategic level yet that is needed for the senior leadership. So this is where how you frame what you're talking about, how you frame your results, your outcomes, etc., gets to be so important and something that we miss most often as women. Now, some men do this as well, so I don't want to exclude you. So but for women especially, we miss this. A second big mistake that I see is the assumption, hey, but Kim, you know what? My hard work and all my results, they should just speak for themselves. I was on that train and it was a train to nowhere. Because what it led to is like, yeah, I was getting really great results, but half the time someone else was walking away with the credit, or people didn't attribute it to me because they didn't know that I had what I had done behind that. As an example, one of my clients was sharing, she's like, I laid out the entire strategy. I've made sure that their client, we meet the client's needs while also meeting the business outcomes, etc. And then her boss was like, well, great, let's execute it. And then her boss was walking away with how they had set up the strategy and how it's like, no. And on one hand, she was like, yeah, but Kim, it's getting done. So what does it matter? Well, it matters because as soon as somebody else walks away with a credit, or people can't associate you with having done that result and the thinking behind it and setting up the strategy, it means they don't see you as a capable strategic leader. So you miss that recognition when that happens. So here is where I get into the more uncomfortable bit, because for a lot of us women, and I'll be the first one that's on that train, promoting ourselves, talking about our work, it just feels like, oh, we're bragging, and we don't want to be too arrogant or come across as like, hey, you know what? I'm tooting my own horn again. Or even worse at times, especially for women, if we start talking about our results in the I form, then all of a sudden we become someone that isn't a team player. And that just kind of a bit of like, but I got the results. Well, like we're not talking, like it's too much of the I, like where did your team do? Well, unfortunately for women, and this is, I would love to change the entire structure of the system, of course, right? And have the bias that exists removed. However, we need to work in the situation that we have now and then continue to change it. So in order to work with those biases, one of the things that I've created was the Boardroom Whisper checklist. So if you haven't got that yet, then comment the word checklist and I'll make sure you get it, because it gives you some first steps that you can take to work in to conversations, into meetings, into the 30-second elevator ride that you get with a senior leader on how it shows you how to take your results and start working them into a conversation without you feeling like, hey, I'm bragging. I'm talking too much about myself. Because what we do in that is we make sure to tie not only just what you've been doing, but also to the business outcomes. And we phrase it in such a way so that it doesn't come across constantly as like, oh, well, see, I'm tooting my own horn, I'm bragging, etc. But self-promotion is absolutely necessary, because the bar, when it comes to you being in the senior leadership levels, everybody already is a high performer. The minimum is working hard, but we need to step past for women, we need to step past this. We got to work twice as hard to get half as far. And part of that to make that shift is stop working harder and start creating more visibility for what you're doing, for how you got there, the thinking behind it, what are the strategies that you implemented, and building that business case rather than just expecting people to see and assume that they know you did it, and the assumption that your hard work is going to pay off. So the question that I want you to ask yourself is not around how do you prove that you're ready? Because working harder, getting more experience, more knowledge isn't your ticket. What I want you to start asking yourself is, where is your leadership thinking still invisible for your leaders? Because once you start creating that strategy of like, let's make your leadership thinking visible for others, that invisible table where all these decisions get made that you're never being invited to that you're like, if I could have just influenced that decision, if I'd been there helping make that decision, I would have made a very different decision. Then you start to open the door where that invisible table no longer is invisible, but you get to start having a say at it. Now, the checklist, as I mentioned, it's a Boardroom Whisperer checklist. It talks you through, it shows you strategies of how to do it within a meeting, within, like I said, the elevator ride with a senior leader, if you have the chance, or down the hallway. But if you want this, to do this and make sure you get results really quickly and have my help doing that, on June 1st, I am starting up the Visibility Glow Up. This is a 6-week program that I walk with you side by side. I show you every single week what are actions you can take. And it only takes you 15 minutes. So this is not something that's going to be hours and hours of your time, but I'm going to show you proven strategies that you can use within 15 minutes of every day that is going to raise and elevate your visibility to the right individuals inside your organization as well as outside. So if you want the details and you want to be one of the first people to get in on that, then comment the word glow up and I will share the details with you. Because I did the glow up last summer, and from the women that were participated in that, they were just blown away with the results that they had. One of my clients, and she's been an accelerator client for a number of years now, she's like, this was the best 6-week program. She's like, because it got me moving, it got me really highly visible within our organization, and it led to her having really great conversations with senior leaders and executives that allowed her to gain more resources for a team, but also to start really jump-starting that next career step again. So if that is something that you're interested in, you're ready for, we're starting on June 1st. I would love to have a conversation with you all about it. That you can comment the word glow up and in the comments, and I will make sure to reach out and we'll have a conversation. And otherwise, here's where I'm going to leave you with today. So if you're thinking that, hey, all these results that I'm getting, it isn't translating into recognition, it isn't translating into the invitation at the decision-making table, I keep getting the feedback, I'm not ready yet. There's just, not right now. This is like, take some more time. We got to develop some more. Then I really encourage you to start asking yourself, are you making your leadership thinking visible for the people who make the decisions about your career and about your next steps? And if you have any doubt, or you're not like, I don't even know if it's going to be visible or not, then reach out. We're going to have a conversation. I can show you how. All right. I wish you all a great day, and we'll talk.